Angelina Jolie had everything Hollywood tells us we're supposed to want: beauty, money, fame, awards. Millions of people knew her face. And then she walked into a place where none of it mattered. No red carpet, no photographers, no applause. Just families whose lives had been shattered by war. And something happened to Angelina there that she couldn't undo. Because the woman who returned to Hollywood looked like the same movie star, but she wasn't. Stay until the end. Because one decision Angelina made after that experience explains why some of the most important moments of her life happened thousands of miles from Hollywood, where almost nobody was watching. And once you understand that decision, you may never see her fame the same way again. By the late 1990s, Angelina Jolie was becoming impossible to ignore. Hollywood loved her intensity. Her beauty made magazine covers. Her private life generated headlines. Then came an Academy Award. And soon after, Lara Croft Tomb Raider transformed her into a global superstar. This was the life millions dream about. But in 2000, filming Tomb Raider took Angelina to Cambodia. She arrived to make a movie. Instead, she encountered something far more powerful than anything in the script. Cambodia still carried deep scars from decades of conflict, poverty, displacement, landmines, communities rebuilding lives after unimaginable suffering. Angelina began looking beyond the movie set, and she started asking questions. How could people be living through this while so much of the world barely noticed? That question followed her home. Angelina wanted to understand more, so she contacted the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR. Then she began visiting refugee communities herself. Not glamorous locations, places shaped by displacement and conflict. Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Cambodia. She listened to people who had lost homes, families separated by war, people forced to leave almost everything behind. And the contrast must have been extraordinary. One week she could be surrounded by cameras and luxury. The next, sitting with people whose greatest wish was simply to go home safely. Hollywood had taught Angelina what fame could give her. These journeys taught her what fame could be used for, and that distinction changed everything. This is where Angelina's story becomes different. Writing a check would have been easy. Attending a charity gala would have been easy. Taking a photograph and returning home would have been easy. But she kept going back. In 2001, Angelina Jolie became a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador. Over the following years, she undertook numerous field missions, meeting refugees and displaced people around the world. She visited camps, border regions, communities affected by war, and gradually something remarkable happened. The actress, famous for being photographed, became determined to make people look at someone else. But there was still another transformation coming, because eventually visiting wasn't enough. Angelina began using rooms normally reserved for diplomats and political leaders. She spoke about refugees, sexual violence in conflict, human rights, the consequences of war. In 2012, UNHCR appointed her special envoy. Her role had moved far beyond celebrity appearances. She was using the currency Hollywood had given her attention to force neglected stories into public view. And perhaps this is the most fascinating contradiction in her life. Angelina Jolie became one of the most photographed women on Earth, and then spent years trying to redirect those cameras toward people the world rarely photographed at all. But remember the promise from the beginning. There was a decision that reveals what this transformation really meant. And it wasn't an award. It wasn't a title. It was much more personal. Angelina could never stop being famous. She couldn't walk into a refugee camp and suddenly become anonymous. But she could decide what her fame was for. She donated significant resources to humanitarian causes. She supported conservation and community projects in Cambodia. She advocated internationally for refugees and displaced people. And she spent years returning to places where being Angelina Jolie couldn't solve the problems in front of her. That's important, because this isn't a story about a celebrity arriving to save people. It is about someone discovering that privilege creates a choice. You can use the spotlight to illuminate yourself, or turn it towards something the world is ignoring. Angelina chose the second. Again, and again, and again. So what did Angelina Jolie actually walk away from? Not Hollywood completely. She continued acting, directing, making films. The real thing she walked away from was the idea that fame had to be the destination. Cambodia had shown her another world. Refugees gave that world faces and names. And once she'd seen it, she couldn't pretend the red carpet was the whole story anymore. That is the decision I promised you at the beginning. She stopped asking, "What can fame give me?" and started asking, "What can I make fame do?" Maybe that's why some of Angelina Jolie's most meaningful moments never came with an Oscar in her hands. They happened sitting beside displaced families, walking through refugee settlements, speaking in rooms where people without her platform desperately needed someone to listen. Hollywood made Angelina Jolie famous. What she did with that fame made her something else. And maybe that's the side of her the spotlight could never fully show. If you want to discover more stories like this, stay with us, because on See Beyond the Spotlight, we uncover what happens when the cameras stop showing us the obvious story, and another one begins. And now tell us, who should we uncover next? Leave their name in the comments. Your suggestion could become one of our next documentaries. And come back for the next hidden story, because sometimes the greatest legacy isn't what someone achieved while the world was watching. It's what they chose to do once they realized the world was watching them. Every legend has a story. We uncover the one the world rarely sees.